Welcome to Wine Library TV. I am your host, Gary Vaynerchuk. And this, my friends, is The Thunder Show, aka WLTV, the internet's most passionate wine programming. And today we have a very special episode because we're following up on what we opened yesterday. So what we have here are two wines that have been open for about 21 hours, just sitting and breathing. The Acheval Frere yesterday that we enjoyed to some degree, and the Torbreck, which was a huge bomb in the bottle, but also sitting in a decanter, bigger oxygen surface, so it should have an impact. Obviously, I'm very excited about that, and without going into too many other details, I definitely thought I would want to give you a recommendation. As the Thunder Show starts to wind down, I thought it would be important to get out as many recommendations as possible. And this is something I haven't done in the past 400 episodes or so, but this was a wine I had very recently that I was, for the first time, I was like devastated I didn't do it on Wine Library TV. I was like, ugh. Like, I've had a lot of great wines off camera, and I was like, oh, shucks, that would have been nice if that was on WLTV. Or wines of profound background or pedigree that I've had that were not great, and I was like, another missed opportunity. But this Languedoc, probably more than any wine in the last year and a half, really stood out as a missed opportunity. And now, since we are, trickling down the sand. What is that, what is that, sand?
The sands of the hourglass.
The sands of the hourglass. Very well said, Mott. I'm going to miss you, my man. We're going to break a couple of rules, and one of those rules is putting a wine on the show that I haven't had in the past. So we'll see how that does. Other than that, a couple things I wanted to talk about. First, huge shout out to Dale Cruz, who's a great maniac, longtime guy, living up in the New England Patriots County. He's the new writer for the Bostonian, talking about wine and beer and food, and I'm super pumped for him. So Mott, one of the last times, link it up. Now people know why there's no t-shirt. And so let's do that, and let's give him a huge shout out, and let's read his articles. He's a great guy, and I'm super thrilled for him. I expect a huge feature on the Thunder Show's legacy as soon as he gets an opportunity. Other than that, Facebook, friend me up. Because, retiring doesn't mean you're dead. I mean, that's, it's a very important thing. So, big news. I'm almost to my limit of Facebook friends. Facebook limits to 5,000 friends, Mott. I'm getting close. So if you want to get on it, if you want to get some of your friends to be my friend, it's all about friendship, sharing, family, and all about wine. So that's a very exciting moment. I want you to do that. And also, where you ask wine questions, which I will continue to answer after the Thunder Show, has a new search capability. A lot of people have been asking for that, so click that over there, ask Gary a question. You can actually, before you ask me a question, search if anybody's asked the same question, which, by the way, happens all the time. Washington, Taste of Washington. I'm going out there. Mott, link it up. Let's start an official thread. Who is going in the WLTV meets in the forum? Do that for me. We will probably do a dinner that Saturday night, so we're aiming for that. And also, Boston Wine Expo, which is coming up. What is it, the 8th, 9th, and 10th? It's like the weekend after the Super Bowl. So, I think 9th and 10th. I will be there. People have been asking, am I going to be there? What's going on? Just to give you details, I have 2 booths at the Boston Wine Expo, so I will be there hanging out. So I'll be there the whole time. You will absolutely be able to see me. So tell all your friends, come to the Boston Wine Expo. It's going to be a lot of fun. All the Patriot fans are going to be sad after the Giants stun them. And it's going to be a really interesting... You like that, Mott, huh? It's a big smile. So I will be there, and we're going to aim to do a dinner that Saturday night as well with fellow Vaynerchuk. So if you're New Hampshire, Maine, Rhode Island, Connecticut, get up there. Mott, link it up. The official Boston Wine Expo, are you going, and possible dinner thread in the WLTV meets. So that's fun, and now let's get into the show. The first wine is this wine that I wanted to recommend to everybody, Domaine Saint Leocadie Minevois, which is a great little area in France. This is a $16 wine. Now, you may remember, from the same producer, we had a very $6, $7 wine that I loved. Now, this is 16 bones from Minevois, and in Minevois, you have to be 60% Grenache, Syrah, or Mourvedre by law. I don't actually even know the breakdown of this wine, but I feel it's extremely heavy to the Grenache. And when I had it, personally, I rated it as a 92 in my own mind had I done it on the show. Just, a little brief, disclosure. But I enjoyed it immensely, and I thought it was easily a rival and a wine that I wanted to bring to a lot of blind Chateauneuf de Pape tastings. So I thought that would be a lot of fun for me, and so that made me realize, wow, I'm a big fan of Chateauneuf de Papes. I respect them, adore them, and love them, and drink them, and they roll in at the $35, $40, $45 price range, so I must be really taken aback by this wine, and that I was. I played with that wine. It really evolved. A lot more floral, lilac components came on late, but let's see what's going on right out the bottle. Because it will be a slightly different experience for me because the one I had was decanted for 2 or 3 hours. Some great, great color. You know, maybe one last pour for all the homies that were along the journey for WLTV. I mean, Mott, you know, there was a lot of them. Do you remember, you know, just so many great peeps. Remember Tony? Tony. Yeah, he was awesome. And, you know, so let's pour it all out for all the homies that were with us on this amazing journey. And let's get into a sniffy sniff. You like that? Was nasty. This wine is unbelievably interesting. This is a Halloween candy bag that was only filled with chocolate dust, like gold dust. Remember him? He was weird. Chocolate dust and strawberries and like cigar, like a loose cigar, loose tobacco, excuse me. Heavy on the cherries, heavy on the black pepper, heavy on the cigar, excuse me, loose tobacco. See, I'm losing it. That's why I should really... You got to go out on top, Seinfeld style. I don't know if I'm on top, but... Very intriguing nose. Very aromatically exciting. And as you know, huge impact on your overall flavor. Please remember, sniffing, smelling, intaking, enjoying, experiencing. Let's give it a whirl. Huge, massive, dark, black berry flavors coming through with hints of cherry, a gorgeous tobacco component. I mean, it's even on my... This is such an intriguing wine. If you are at all big on tobacco flavors but not smoking, like me, like for example, loose leaf tobacco, I can smell it all the time. It's so fascinating to me. I've never smoked anything in my life. CKC's, nothing. So, by the way, a lot of people from the Global Mail coming. Big article yesterday for us, Mott. You know what? Link that up. Huge shout out to all the new Canadian contingencies on the Thunder Show. That is awesome that you're here. Anyway, massive tobacco. It is the dominant force of this wine. Hinted black pepper, beautiful cherries, an interesting blackberry, blackcurrant kind of component in the overall initial attack on the flavor. Great transition mid-palate, some nice sourness, nice dryness, sour cherry-esque flavor, long finish. Again, heavy on the tobacco. I mean, this is the South Bronx. Well, not the Bronx, just this is the South America. I mean, this is really interesting. I'm feeling this wine. It's got a lot of flavor, a lot of explosiveness. I do remember it being more aromatically exciting and far more floral after many hours of decanting. But this is another great effort, even right out the bottle, right on par with the last effort. I'm going to score this wine 91 plus this time. You know, that decanting gave it a little bit higher score internally, but this is a wine that a lot of people need to seek out because this is a food wine. This is a great wine to sip like this. This is good. Licorice even. But this is a wine that blew me away. I mean, blew me away with the meal I had. So, a wine that I highly recommend, worth seeking out. It's going to be tough to find, but Minervois. We needed to do an episode of Minervois. That was a mistake. Anyway, let's go on to the wine. So here it is, the Achuel Ferrer. Now, one of the big things is, I did not look back at yesterday's episode. I don't remember even what I said about this. It was an emotional episode yesterday. I actually screwed myself up by making the announcement of 7 more episodes, because otherwise, everybody would have talked about how motivational, exciting, and interesting the show was. Don't you think, Matt?
Just seeing the dance is...
You like the sack dance. Like, nobody even referenced the sack dance, except some guy, like, linked up Mark Gaston's daughter. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Anyway, Achuel Ferrer, Finca Alamira, 2005, 22 hours of being open in the bottle. Let's give it a whirl. Let's see what's going on here. Should be exciting. I'm kind of excited about this, Mott. How about you? That last wine rocks, by the way. Snippy sniff. Black tea. We talked about that yesterday. I'm almost sure I can remember it. It again, and it's a really explosive. This is like brewed black tea. There's some blueberry and blackberry components coming through as well, but it is just amazing to me how much this smells like tea to me. It's incredible, really, it's just incredible. Let's give it a whirl. Wild. Great lusciousness. A little more subtle on the tannin aspects than I remember yesterday. Creamier, little hints of vanilla, blackberry, more round, more explosive. This is a nice little wine. It's acting a lot more friendly. You know, it's like that person that you meet for the first time, kind of closed, but you know, you live with them in your dorm room for a year or 6 months or 3 months, they start opening up. This wine has comfied to you. It's now getting a little bit more comfortable with you, and it can show you a little bit more of what it's about, and that's what's going on in this wine. It is clear to me, going on memory, it's only 1 day ago, that this wine is far more open and exciting. Much more of the black fruit and the berries, just very, very luscious, good effort. To me today, this wine tastes like a 92 plus point wine. Yesterday, I think we gave it a 90 or 91. I still think it's 76 bones. There's a lot of things in the market for a little bit less that are like this, but this definitely is coming across more with like a French vanilla, Starbucks, blackberry, you know, syrup inside kind of flavor profile that I think a lot of people like, and it's definitely softened. A great window into where this wine could go in the next 5 or 7 years of cellaring. Another great example of how wine continues to evolve, continues to change, whether it's opened or with a meal or in a mindset. This is a moving target, folks. That's why you can't pinpoint. That's the big disparity and the big kind of controversy in scoring wines, because it's at that moment in time. Think about that. In that moment in time, that's what that wine is scored or thought of. It changes, especially complex and interesting wines. Very fascinating. I mean, just, it's so cool. And, you know, I'm so privileged and proud to be in this world, because it's very artistic. You know, it's like, think about some songs, right? Music. I mean, at that moment, you know, you just broke up with a girl, little, you know, Boys to Men, you know, end of the road, you know, you start, you know, crying or whatever. But, you know, with your boys at graduation, end of the road feels different. Or 10 years later, when you hear end of the road for the first time, it's like, feels different. You know, it's like music. Wine at that moment is going to be what it is. And that's why by scoring it, it's obviously very controversial. But I continue to do it, and, you know, I continue to support it because it's who I am. Anyway, let's move on. Now, this one is going to be very fascinating to me. Out of the bottle for 24 hours, out of the decanter for 24 or 23, 24 hours. This, of course, is the 99-point rated $150 Torbreck Run Rig 2004. We did this yesterday, and again, if you're catching this episode and didn't see yesterday's, you can just go back one episode. We did those 2 wines yesterday. But again, 2 wines, the left the bottle, the right the decanter. Let's give it a little bit of a sniffy sniff. Some subtle differences, actually out of the bottle. For some reason, you know what? Just to eliminate any theories. Matt, you entertaining over there?
Yes. Thanks for the memories.
What, Matt? You got some sort of voice there, man. Good job. Just go with a clean glass. Oh! Almost screwed that up. But I didn't at the last minute, which is pretty awesome. That was awesome. Anyway, sniffy sniff. Very interesting. If anything, there's a little bit more of a focused, laser-like tangerine, marmalade orange thing going on in the decanted one. Believe it or not, the bottled, with the less opening, is a little bit more floral, a little bit more exciting. Believe it or not, a little bit more explosive. A little bit more love, a little bit more cleave. I mean, it's a very interesting kind of difference. But it's there. It is definitely far more in both glasses. So, interesting. Let's give it a whirl. God, these are candy bombs. Very similar. We're talking about extreme subtleties that might be even like in my mind. Believe it or not, If I had to guess, if it was totally blind, I would definitely think that this was the decanted one, the one that had more air and broke up. It's more fleshy, it's more explosive. Maybe there was more wine content in there. And I don't even know. Not a scientist, no Dr. Wizard or Mr. Wizard, am I. However, the one to the left is a little bit more fruit punchy, a little bit more, you know, Lionel Kitty City. I've been wanting to use that, so we're getting towards the end. You remember, they turned that brown upside down. That was cool stuff. Anyway, these are it's the same wine. This is a very explosive New World bomb. I mean, this is for sine qua non fans. If you're a huge fan of sine qua non, you have to seek this out. If you love that roller coaster, that live a little, that do it a little kind of thing, you need to definitely seek this out. Massive, explosive, rich, beautiful marmalade, tangerine, strawberry, blackberry, just gushing, exploding. It's like when that gum came out. Remember that gum that came out in the 80s where, you know, it was like the first gum that had liquid in it? You like bite it and like shoot out. I don't even remember the brand, but that's what this reminds me of, because everything was so much more intense because they gave you like a sugar explosion. I mean, this is jolt, this is excitement, and to me this still represents a 93, 94, 95 type point wine. You can definitely once in a while find $40 to $60 efforts that give you this love. This is over-the-top explosion, but hedonistic and definitely worth living life once in a while kind of wine. Very interesting, very over-the-top. Not a big change from yesterday's where I felt it a lot more in the Achabal. A great experiment. You know, just for fun. I always like to do this. Like, you hear this a lot of times, that you want to start with inferior wines, and then when you go back to, you know, after you have a great, big, explosive, powerful wine, you know, a lot of times the lower-end wine doesn't stand up. So I'm just kind of curious, as my palate is riveting and enjoy over this fruit and explosion and fun. I want to see what's going on here. But again, you know, my feeling on this is very much like that, you know, that 2-month relationship with that guy or girl that was like, you were like, gaga, you know, but the substance wasn't there kind of thing. That's, for some reason, I just keep getting that, you know. God, I love the, you know, the vegetal and the leather and the tobacco. It's just an interesting wine. You'll never convince me not to buy 9 bottles of this instead of a bottle of that. As much as I want you to live a little. This is good stuff. Anyway. Can somebody save the show? It's a really important question. Question of the day. Can you save Wine Library TV? And if so, how? Because you, with a little bit of me, but not much longer, we're changing the wine world, whether they like it or not.